sign in. Mr. Anderchak, would you please explain?
Mr. Sandrock, do you have any comments on this? Do you have any suggestions or thoughts?
Okay. Let me, just before you proceed, Ms. Knowlton, need some advice. We have certain rules of procedure.
I understand.
Mr. Anderchak. I just need to check for a minute before the clock starts running and make sure what you're doing here. Since I've been on the board, I haven't experienced commissioners. I think this would be a deviation. I would suggest, Mr. Anderchak, in the future, I'm not going to allow that today. If you would like to do that in the future, and we can talk about, make a request to understand. Normally, anything on a video standpoint or PowerPoint or anything of that nature, it's given to us ahead of time, so we know what's going to happen. That's just the rules of the board. So I'm going to enforce those rules today. I'm not saying you can't do this in the future. I don't know yet. I'm just saying today we weren't prepared for this, so I would ask you simply to go as every other citizen and just do your 3-minute citizen input on any subject from the normal place, and then we'll try to figure this out in the future.
Sir. I appreciate that. Just for the record, I feel that this room is the taxpayers' room, and if the taxpayers want to show a video clip of a commissioner's meeting, then we should be allowed to do it. And I just want to put that on record. But that's fine.
I understand
next time,
it. Just get an email to me, and
we'll
we'll circulate it and figure out what we're going to do in the future.
That's fine.
Okay.
Scott Anderchak, for the record, speaking again for SOS. We're addressing, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to ask Mr. Sandrock why we had a loan for Spring Lake that was originally $1,036,000. Overnight, this becomes $500,000. Okay, now on that video, Mr. Sandrock says very clearly he's consulted with Mr. White. They've done this hundreds of times, and it's just a normal thing. So why withdraw this? You said yourself, sir, that this is for pre-construction design, which is accurate, okay? And yet we have reclaimed water lines in there. We have mailings of $3,000 in there. There's a lot of other things in there that are not really pre-construction. So how does that happen? If we've done this hundreds of times, as Mr. Sandrock says, why is this withdrawn? How does it go from 2.16% interest, and then overnight it's at 5%. Is Mr. Sandrock and Charlotte County Utilities trying to make a profit off of us from the interest rate? We do not understand this. This is why we said to you that the blank check clause that you folks all voted on, I'm sorry, correct myself, you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Truex voted against it, I'm sorry, but my commissioner voted for it. Okay? And by the way, my commissioner has said nothing about this loan issue, and this is why I bring this up today. I expect him to represent the citizens of Spring Lake.
Just focus.
Yes, sir. And he's asked no questions on how a state revolving fund loan filled out in our name, in the Spring Lake residents' name, can have so many flaws in here, and then it's being withdrawn. And yet there are no questions by this board. How many times is Mr. Sandrock going to come before this board and embarrass the commissioners? This is why, as you know, Mr. Chairman, we've asked for his removal multiple times. He embarrasses you folks. So I'd like you to, Mr. Chairman, to ask Mr. Sandrock, how does it go from $1,036,000 to $500,000 overnight, and then it's withdrawn? Would you ask him that, please?
We don't have that dialogue during this portion of the meeting, sir.
Well, about that, Mr. Chairman, a point of order. According to the rules of procedure that I downloaded from the website, I may be wrong about this, and you can clarify this for me. I'd appreciate it if you stop my time. It says no question shall be asked a member of the commission except through the presiding officer. Aren't you the presiding officer? And so according to your rules of procedure that I downloaded from the website, I'm allowed to ask questions of the members of the board. Would you ask the parliamentarian to clear this up for us?
Mr. Anchak, I'll have meetings with staff subsequent to this meeting. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Your time is up, sir.
Mr. Chairman, this is a critical point for the folks at Spring Lake.
Your time is up.
We feel we're being cheated here, sir, and we'd like some answers.
Your time is up, sir.
Okay. Just for the record, sir, I followed the rules of this board. I asked through you, and I don't think I did anything wrong. And yet, I get no clarification from the county attorney, the valedictorian. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay.